Well, I want to just thank everybody for joining us. This is really the second installment of an idea that we had a few weeks ago, Juan and Tex and I, to provide more value and really bring some voices to the space, to the virtual space, to share with our students, not only in IYTU, but really the larger community at Davis during this time. And so, just want to introduce myself. My name is Renato Guerra. I serve as the program manager for IYTU. Which I will explain very shortly, but I'm going to pass it off to my team members. I'll start off with Juan.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. So my name is Juan Garcia. I'm the lead mentor for IYTU and also a UC Davis alum from 2020. Pass it on to Tex.
What's up, everybody? My name is Tex Wambui. I am a UC Davis alumni class of 2019, and I'm a mentor for the IYTU at UC Davis. Thank you guys for showing up today. Really appreciate it.
Perfect. And so real quick spiel on IYTU, what it means and what it stands for. Improve Your Tomorrow University. It's a college program, an extension from our larger kind of nonprofit here based in Sacramento, IYT. And really the whole mission of it is to get more young men of color to and through college, right? So we start early as middle school, which Tex happens to be part of that first class back in South Sacramento Valley High School. So he's been with the program since 2013, crazy. But yes, we start early as 7th grade, and then we stick with them from high school and into college. And we're fortunate enough to now have a program officially at Davis. We started last quarter in the fall virtually, but still plugging along. And so, yeah, this was just a concept that we wanted to, again, bring more voices to the table. I think adding more value to our UC Davis students that not only are part of the program, but the larger community, to hear from people that are serving or have attended UC Davis, right? That getting that experience to really understand, like, all right, although it is a hard time and there's a lot of challenges before us, there's people that have gone to be successful or doing great things even now. So we want to bring these folks. That's why we have Panji and Karina on here to kind of share a little bit about their experience. And today's theme is really career talk. All right, so thank you again, Tex. What I'm going to do next is Juan and Tex, if you guys can introduce your guests, and then we'll start with the kind of getting the conversation started for the talk.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first, Tex? Or?
You got it. You got it, Juan.
All right, for sure. So the guest that I invited today his name is Christopher Pangelina, but he goes by Panji. He is one of the EOP retention specialists at EOP. So a lot of his work just encompasses supporting students, EOP students, with academics, personal social support, things like that, but also kind of leading the team of peer advisors that staff the EOP college. Really awesome person. So I really appreciate him making time to come out. So yeah, thank you, Panji.
Thank you, Panji, for being here. The other guest that we have here today, we have the pleasure of having Karina Montoya. She's a current second-year law student at the University of Daytona. She graduated from UC Davis with a major in communications and a minor in professional writing. So you guys can welcome, give her some love by hitting that party emoji. That'll be perfect. So thank you for showing up, Karina. Yay.
So yeah, we'll move into questions. So like we said before, this event is very career focused. So a lot of the questions that Tex and I will be asking to kind of get the conversation going will be career focused. So kind of discussing what your career trajectory was, what your journey was. How did you come about, like, kind of deciding to pursue the career that you're in now? And then we'll open it up for students to kind of ask questions. So Tex, do you want to ask the first question?
Yes, thank you for that one. So the first question we have for you guys is, how would you guys define a career in terms of what is it constitutes for a career for you? Like, how did you come to the definition for what you believe a career is?
Yeah, either one of you guys could.
I think for me personally, I don't know the official definition of a career, but it's sort of something more concrete than I guess a regular job. I guess a career is something that you've worked for, you've studied for, or you've put a lot of work in. Not saying that a job you don't do any of those things, but a career is sort of really focus based on what you've set out to do. And it's something that you could build yourself up. So you're constantly, I guess, moving through the system in a career.
Yeah, I want to echo what Karina said. I'm like, oh, what is the actual definition of career? Um, but for to build off of that, I think it has to do with like your investment of your like personal time and energy into building your skill and knowledge around that specific field of work, whether that be something that you go to college for, or vocational school for, or maybe you don't go to a traditional form of school. Maybe it's something that you're like in a management position and you go to a number of workshops throughout your time that they send you to trainings. I think it's something that's long term. um, Having done like service work when I was younger, like that was a very short period of time where I figured like for me it was like it was a temporary job, and I knew that I was working towards a career. At the time I didn't know what that career was going to be. I'm there now, but you know, I put a lot of work into getting to where I am now.
Awesome, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing that. Juan, would you like to ask the same question?
Yeah. So the next question I think kind of goes a little bit deeper. So what was your career journey like, and how did you know you wanted to work or pursue the career that you're kind of pursuing now?
I didn't know what I wanted to do, or I didn't know I wanted to do what I'm currently doing. So during my senior year in undergrad, I was stressed because I was getting a degree in American Studies, and I was constantly being asked, what kind of job will you get with an American Studies degree? And I was frustrated because my brothers kept asking me that and I didn't have a concrete answer. And as I was talking over this with one of my supervisors, he had suggested looking into student affairs, and I didn't know what student affairs was, never heard of it. And he essentially explained to me that the work that we were doing, I was working in orientation at the time, was student affairs work, and it was a very broad field with a number of student services on colleges and university campuses. And so I looked into that. And so my next journey was deciding to go to graduate school, because when I graduated, I was trying to get an entry level job, but they were like, we're going with somebody with 3 to 5 years of experience or their master's. So the master's was the easiest bet for me since I wasn't getting any opportunities to get entry level experience. So I went to a 2 year master's program at San Diego State, and then began working. I worked in housing and Center for Intercultural Relations there, and worked in housing at Davis before I finally got to the Education Opportunity Program, which is where I wanted to essentially be. So it took some years to get here, but I'm happy where I'm at.
Going off of what Panji said, I got that same famous question of what are you going to do with your major? Like, what kind of jobs can you get with it? But I did realize I wanted to go to law school pretty early on. I want to say by sophomore year, I had it sort of set in my mind. So I was a communications major, and I remember somebody once told me, they're like, well, you could get into law school with like a dance major or like a really out there major that does nothing to do with law. And so I stuck with my communications major. I loved it. It gave me the opportunity to sort of take classes in other academic disciplines. And it also, I mean, every major is hard, but I think communications was very doable. I was able to have a minor in something that I loved, which was writing. And so I was able to keep up that GPA for law school. And so that's how I knew from sophomore year I wanted to go to law school, worked hard, did a bunch of extracurriculars relating to law. And I ended up in, to correct Dex, I'm in the University of Dayton, not Daytona. I wish I was in Florida, but I'm stuck in Ohio. Well, I'm stuck in school in Ohio, but now it's all remote. But I ended up in
My apologies.
Ohio. No, it's fine. Ended up in Ohio just because I applied to all the Catholic law schools that I knew of to make my grandmother proud. And so that's how I ended up there. And I'm almost done. So I sort of had it set in place from sophomore year, and I just kept trying to work at it until I went straight from undergrad to law school, which is killer, but I mean, I'm still standing.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing to that. I fell into this career when I was in undergrad. Initially, I was originally majoring in communications, like Karina, because I wanted to either be on the news or the radio. And the work that I did in undergrad actually changed the direction of where I wanted to go because I discovered that I liked helping other students.
Thank you. Tex?
Oh yeah, thank you guys for sharing that. And again, my apologies, Karina. I said it wrong. That's my bad.
Fine, it's not Harvard or anything. No one really knows.
I do. So a follow-up question in terms of what you guys spoke upon in terms of you guys' career choice is, did you guys know about the specific job that you're in now within like your field when you started college?
Oh no. I went into school again, even though I kept my major all throughout my 4 years, I went into school like Panji, I wanted to be like a journalist, I wanted to do PR. So that's where I was going, and it's that stereotype where you change your mind every single semester as the semesters go on. So when I entered school, I had no idea. I had it sort of an idea, and then as it progressed, it kind of went, I don't know, but yeah.
For me, I was an EOP student at UC Berkeley, and I knew of the work in the department because I had a friend who worked there, and so I'd go there for like academic or personal support if I needed that as a student. Never did I think that that was something that I wanted to do. So I was aware of it. I knew people worked there, but at the same time, like the division of student affairs, I had no clue what that was. There wasn't a student affairs major, and it was not something that was promoted to undergrad students.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for sharing that, and I hope for every student that's here listening, they can kind of understand like when it comes to choosing a career, it's not just something that's an easy path to choose. You have to kind of figure out the building blocks that you have to make for yourself. So thank you guys for sharing that.
So the next question is, what resources did you utilize, or would you recommend for students to utilize at Davis to kind of begin that career exploration?
Um, like Panji, I'm a proud EOP alum. Me and Juan were actually part of STEP, so it was something that had. I'm so grateful for them. I was able to get a bunch of resources, and it was just, Davis is semi-diverse, but again, I was a first-gen student, and I didn't come from money. I was the first in my family to ever leave home. So EOP gave me all those resources. They gave me I guess, family. Tex was in my step group too, and it's so crazy that like five years later we're still on this Zoom call. So EOP was the main one. I was also fortunate enough to work for the College of Letters and Science. I was a peer advisor, so that again was a little family within my college experience. And because I worked with academic advisors, they gave me a lot of good resources.
Um, Building off of what Karina said, I think if there's an opportunity to apply to a transitional program like STEP, where you can be in a cohort over the summer, like prior to going to campus, that would be a great first step because you kind of get to start to build that social community, and you get kind of, I guess, firsthand experience of like what is on campus, and you have current students and career staff to kind of help you through that process. So when you start in the fall, you kind of feel like you have your footing a little bit more. Um, I would say there's a number of resources for students to take advantage of. There's First Year Aggie Connections, which is like something that's a small cohort of students where you get to be with the career staff, and it's not heavily academic. Some are, but that kind of helps you start building smaller pockets of different communities where you have a social network on campus, because I think students hear a lot from their peers, because going through orientation, there's a lot of information dumped on you, and some of it stays, some of it doesn't. Um, in terms of involvement, we have our Center for Student Involvement, and they have like a involvement calculator where you can kind of like look up organizations and clubs to see if there's something out there that you want to be involved in. If you end up getting a job on campus, I would definitely say building a relationship with your supervisor and asking them about things that are on campus because they may be knowledgeable or know who to connect you to. For example, like I know students that I work with and supervise, like I either connect them to somebody if there's an interest in an area that I'm not an expert in. We have our internship and career center that has a lot of information around like resume, cover letters, internships, jobs. We have a lot of job fairs on campus. And even though it may be like in your first year, going out and asking questions and kind of getting a feel for what people are looking for early on never hurts anybody. I think kind of like putting yourself out there and getting involved, whether it be an internship or a volunteer experience at one of our centers on campus, also allows you to get a better understanding of the work that those folks are doing, but also you get to learn from their experiences because from what I know, you know, everybody wants to like share and pass on their knowledge. But being such a large institution, it's very decentralized, and students have to be proactive for themselves to go out and like seek that help and that information. And since you're paying for a number of these services, I would definitely encourage students to walk up and ask, like, well, this is something my counterpart Christine would say, going and ask people like, you know, what can you do for me, or like, you know, what can you offer me in this specific space, because there's a number of resources out there for students to kind of get either knowledge or experience around different topics.
Just a quick note, going off of what Panji said, I've always said that the best jobs on campus are in those like administrative offices, whether it's your specific college, or I also worked for the Student for Academic Success Center. And so it's crazy how much information you get and you're able to work off of like behind the scenes. So not only do students get paid for the job that they're doing, they get a bunch of information that other people aren't, it's not easily accessible to them.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Tex?
Oh yeah, thank you guys for that information. I just like to emphasize something that Panji said about being proactive. It's very important to be proactive and seek out the resources yourself. So, like also Karina said, being able to put yourself in a position that's going to allow you to propel yourself to that objective that you have. So, key word of the day that I would like to say for everybody is being proactive. So, next question that I have for you guys is, if told now to choose a different career path, would you do it?
Yes and no. I think I'm just really biased right now because law school is horrible, and it's like it's the worst and best time of my life. So going back, I'm like, I know it's worth it, but maybe I could have picked something else, gone into public relations or done something more communications based, maybe. But I mean, I'm here now. I think students especially have to weigh in a bunch of factors. So if you want to end up going to graduate school or law school or medical school, you have to take into consideration the cost, not only for the school itself, but applications. The process to apply is so costly. Um, so it's a bunch of different factors. The payout, I guess, from going to law school or medical school, it's years down the road. So if you're somebody who wants to make money right after graduating, that's something to consider. Um, so would I change it? Probably not, because I'm already 2 years in and I don't know how many thousands upon thousands of dollars in debt. But I really wish I would have considered the cost of applying, the cost of sort of staying myself through this program and stuff like that.
Tough question, Tex, especially since Juan's on the call now. So I've been in higher ed, let me see, including grad school, 8 years now. I enjoy it. I've thought about like if I think this past year, like being in the pandemic and everything, it's definitely kind of provided some perspective on like, if I change careers, what would I do? I know Karina's in law school right now, so she's learning all of that. Um, to apply to be a lawyer or whatever kind of a position she chooses to go on after law school. I've done my master's program, and so I'm doing the work that I went to school for. And so um, I haven't looked too far into like what career change I would make, that my degree and skill set is transferable to. There are different. There's a number of things that I know I could do. I just haven't given it a much thought because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And while there are some days where I'm like over the email or there's just a lot going on, I enjoy what I'm doing because it doesn't always feel like work. And that's very rare for some folks to be doing something that doesn't always feel like work. So like pre-pandemic, loved going in. I think we had a really awesome work environment, and work is where you spend the majority of your time during the week. And so, I was blessed to be around like students and career staff that I enjoyed being around and working with. So at the moment, no. And one of the things Karina said was, I do want to go a little bit further in terms of like going to graduate school or law school or medical school afterwards. Depending on what career you want to do, I would definitely encourage students to look and see like, do you need an advanced degree to enter that field? And if you go for an advanced degree, how far up the ladder does that allow you to go? And so you may not need that advanced degree right away. And so sometimes having that work experience prior to going to graduate school gives you a different perspective when you're in your program. I took 2 years off between undergrad and grad school. And so the 2 years that I had off working in a couple of different spaces um, benefited me in my program.
Well, thank you guys for sharing that. And also another piece of nugget that I would like to emphasize that both Karina and Panji said is enjoy what you like to do. And what you guys have both said, it seems like you guys are enjoying the field that you guys have chosen to be in. So I really appreciate you guys sharing that and putting that out there. So back to you, Juan.
Yeah. So I guess we'll open it up to Will if he has any questions for the guests. Yes, no.
Hi.
You
I
can type
just
it in the
had a.
chat too, Will, if you want.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Hi. I guess I was just wondering. You guys like what you do, but how do you balance your work and with your family and friends? Like, if you have a high workload.
Um, I I need to learn how to better work on that. They say like law students are like we are overworked and we're not even paid for how much we work. But that's something I knew going into it. So I always joke around with my partner. We're basically living together, but I never see him because I'm always downstairs in the office doing my work. So it's something that I need to learn how to do. It's not realistic right now. It depends on what year you are in your schooling or what kind of program you're taking. So I know that like they say during your last year, you're a little bit more, you're able to have an outside life. But for right now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I have no outside life. School is my life. So it's definitely a sacrifice that I knew going into law school I was gonna have to make, but it's something that I want to be a lawyer, so it's no question to me to sacrifice that.
Yeah, that Karina, you reminded me of something. PAC at my undergrad, we used to tell me it was short-term sacrifices for long-term goals. And I would say, as a grad student, yeah, it was hard because I lived where I worked, and it felt like I was always at work. Which is very similar to right now working from home remotely in a pandemic, because I work in my bedroom and it's like the bed's there, it's not the right environment, productivity is a little lower. But prior to remote working, I think work-life balance was a little bit better because there was that commute to and from campus, and I would say that my supervisor really encouraged work-life balance. So for me, some of the things that I do would, like, I wouldn't have my email giving me notifications on my phone. It was there if I needed to check it if I was on campus in a different space and not in my office, but trying to create like that boundary of like my lunchtime. So when it was my lunchtime, I rarely sacrificed it. Juan could speak to this. When he was working there, I'd either close my door or I'd leave the office. And I was kind of like, that was my personal time for myself to just kind of decompress. Um, and if I were working a longer day, having that conversation with my supervisor about like, okay, can I flex out time the following day so that way I'm not working over 40 hours in that work week. Um, right now, working from home, it's a little bit more challenging because it's the laptop's right there, and if there's something that I need to get done that I haven't gotten done, I could do that. And being in an exempt position that's not hourly, um I can do that. I mean, I'm still going to get paid the same. I don't get overtime, so that's something to consider when work life balance blurs. But I would say, I think I do a pretty good job of just kind of like respecting the time that I have set aside for myself. And my supervisor and coworkers, we all kind of hold each other accountable. So if we see an email coming through after hours or on the weekend, we may text and be like, hey, get off work. My supervisor did that to me on Monday because I was working and I shouldn't have been. But recruitment season, so there's a lot of stuff to do. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
I guess a follow up with that, Panji, is I know for myself, like I graduated last year, and it was very difficult given like the whole virtual setting, trying to find like a job, right? So I guess from your perspective, like what kind of advice would you give to like graduating seniors about like kind of the job outlook and like what they could do to kind of continue like um, keep up that motivation to be applying for jobs, because it does seem like working from home just feels very like I don't want to do that, right? So like yeah, what kind of advice would you have for graduating seniors?
Is this for graduating seniors who are going to be entering
The
UCD?
workforce.
Yeah, just going into the workforce.
Yeah.
I think some of the things to consider is what jobs are you applying to? Because I know there's still jobs that have people going into work. So with that, there's also still a risk of being exposed to COVID-19, and then also like thinking about like your environment at home. Do you have a space to work? I know that like for working with students, some of them are moved back home. They have siblings, and they're like either never have their screen showing or always their mic is muted because a little sibling may be running in making noise, or their parent doesn't understand that they're working and what they're doing. So um I would definitely do kind of just like an environment check to see like do you have like a laptop if you're working remotely, and like internet and kind of like those basic things, and like can you separate the work from home, like if you can move from one room to the other, um, to just kind of give you a change of scenery, that would be something to consider. But I think that there's a number of remote jobs that have popped up, so it might take some combing through on the internet to kind of figure out what those are.
And then I guess kind of same question for Karina, but more like school based for like for graduating seniors who may be applying to like professional school or grad school. Like what? Hopefully by the time fall starts, things are kind of back to normal. But if they're not, like what kind of advice would you give to students who might be going into like their first year of like grad school or law school or medical school or whatever in a virtual setting? Like what kind of advice would you give for them?
I would say, I mean, I don't know how it is for grad school. Maybe Panji could speak to it, but there's grad school, to my knowledge, they have online programs, so they're designed semi to be online based. Medical school and law school, I haven't heard of any programs that have been historically online based, because it's a sort of profession where you need to be in a classroom, you need to be in front of a teacher. So depending on how the pandemic works and whether or not I'm still getting charged full tuition for a virtual law school experience. So that's something to consider. I was lucky enough to get one full in person year of law school. And that was, again, horrible but great at the same time. Um, so, again, I can't speak for graduate programs. I have a lot of friends in grad programs and they love it because, how Panji said, it's tailored to what you're doing. It's exactly what you studied to do. So I would say definitely consider doing graduate school, even if it's virtual, because a lot of programs were designed to be that way. Medical and law school, I would sort of really consider it, really consider if it's worth paying full tuition for an online experience. If it's, it's going to be harder, it's going to be hard regardless. But for those sort of academic programs that aren't historically supposed to be online, I would sort of wait until the pandemic is over.
I agree with what Karina said. If I had to do my grad program online, I probably wouldn't have wanted to do it because the application of what I was learning in class was so helpful with the work I was doing in my graduate assistant position and vice versa. I was able to take what I was doing in the classroom and I mean in my job and bring it to the classroom. So it really helped me get a fuller picture and gain the experience that I needed. There are programs that are like online programs, like Karina said. So those existed pre-COVID, and I'm pretty sure they didn't have to switch it up so much like the rest of us did um, once we had to go remote. So if people are enjoying learning online, there are programs out there for that experience. But if you want to be in person in a grad program, especially because you get to build those relationships closely with your faculty. And if you're in a cohort-based program, master's program or doctoral program, that's another like community that you get to lean on during that experience, which for me, I really like valued.
Um, Tex, Will, do you guys have any questions?
And I just have a comment, I guess, from what Panji said. For me, actually, I did apply to grad school, and I was accepted to grad school. But when the pandemic hit, that was something I had to consider. Was I know for myself, I prefer one-on-one teaching, where I actually have somebody in front of me, and I'm able to interact with them. So when I realized that I had to do everything online for myself, I decided to actually not continue going to grad school just because I was like, I think I should just wait till it's time for me to feel comfortable to be in that position. And honestly, I don't regret the decision, and I actually appreciate that because it's allowed me to understand that I'm actually not a virtual person. I'm more of the one-on-one type of person. So I guess for people in the future who are looking to, the careers they're looking into, you should consider like what kind of learner are you and what kind of person do you work best and what kind of environment, just like Panji said, is best for you. So that's just my small little spiel.
Do you have any more questions, Will? No? So I guess we'll end it a little bit early, um, but we'll leave it with just asking the guests any final comments or advice for students and get that motivation keep going, with the whole pandemic and virtual setting.
I have
Yeah,
a question for Will. Like, what year are you? Like, what's your? I know you guys serve SAC, right? Like the program's based in SAC.
yeah, but the students they're all UC Davis students.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well,
yeah.
what year are you?
I'm a second year and I'm a chemical engineering major.
Okay, not to plug law school, but remember what I said. You could go into law school with any major. I had at least like 4 classmates who were all computer engineers. Actually, my common law professor right now graduated from UC Davis with a computer engineering degree. So just keep in mind that your major doesn't define you or it doesn't limit you. It could help guide you, but grad school, sort of law school, you could get in with any major. So yeah, your options are unlimited.
Yeah.
So thank you for clarifying that there were undergrad students
Yeah.
you're speaking to. I would say depending on what your year is or how much time you have left in undergrad, as it relates to like your building your resume and thinking ahead for like the workforce or graduate school, you definitely want your resume to point you in that direction, in terms of where you're wanting to go. And that's something that I didn't learn until like later on after undergrad, as I was supervising students and working with them more closely. And so you want those experiences and skills that you're building in undergrad to kind of like set you up for that next position. So if there are positions open on campus that would give you that experience, definitely throw your name in the hat and, you know, apply for them, regardless of what your experience is, because even that interview experience is experience to kind of get a feel for what those interviews are like and what they're looking for and asking those questions. And you know, it challenges yourself to grow a little bit more. And so that's one thing that I would definitely encourage students to do. And you know, I know that everybody has to pay their bills and get stuff done, but that's also something to kind of consider. Like if your work experience doesn't set you up for what you want to do outside of uh undergrad, then you know you're still gonna have to try and figure out how you're gonna gain that experience after undergraduate. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I guess we'll end it there. Thank you to Karina and Panji for coming out. We really appreciate it. Um, and yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
I
Yep.
will,
Thank you guys for showing up.
no problem. I could put my email in the chat, or one if you want to share it for anybody who's on campus, if they want to reach out and follow up about anything that I shared. I'm more than happy to do that too.
Thank you guys for well, thank y'all for having us. And again, if anybody's considering law school or anything law related, send them my way. It might take forever to reply, but I love seeing students of color, students from different backgrounds enter the legal field, just because I am one of, I think, 3 Latino students in my class. So granted, I am in Ohio, but any students that need help, I'm more than happy to help them out.
Thank
Awesome.
you. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you guys. Really appreciate the gems and nuggets you guys have dropped on us. Definitely gonna use those towards all the other students that we're gonna have the chance of serving to. So thank you guys again.
Thank you for the invite. Look forward to collaborating in the future.
There'll be more. We'll do that definitely. We'll definitely let you guys know of any more events we have coming up.
Sounds good. Y'all have a good one.
Bye, guys. Or bye, y'all. I'm sorry.